circular economy around it. You are in the audience connecting. Do not hesitate to share and to please ask your question in the chat. You can raise your hand, but please do not hesitate. I will moderate the chat, so I will take the question as it goes and ask our panelists to answer it. We want this session as much interactive as possible, so please do not hesitate. Just as a reminder, this webinar is recorded, so if you have to leave before, you can also see and watch all the rest, what you missed online. We have Isabel here is connecting, so she's in charge of the communication and PR for Partech, and she's handling all the communication aspects after this webinar. So after this webinar, we will also put our email address if you want to share in one after on the subject or over. We would be happy to answer as well. Anna, maybe beginning with you, can you quickly introduce yourself, what you are doing for NAKD, and maybe what is NAKD also?
Yes, of course, I'll be happy to. So my name is Anna Winde. I'm the head of Resell Sustainability at NAKD.com, which is a young, I would say fast-growing fashion company headquartered in Sweden. NAKD is 5 years old this year, and been growing from 0 to 2 billion, or almost 2 billion SEK by 2020. And it's on a, I would say, amazing sustainability journey. I started as 6 months ago, and we are happy to say that we're today launching our first circular business model with offering customers to sell and buy pre-loved items directly integrated on our website. And it's really short about NAKD.
And as regards to NAKD, how many customers, in which countries are you selling?
Our biggest, we sell globally to over 100 countries. We ship to over 100 countries every year. Our biggest market is in Germany and Scandinavia, but we're growing in entire Europe. And we're targeting young female customers between 18 and 35 primarily.
Okay. Mainly.
And next week we're also launching our first kids collection next week.
Oh, cool. Okay, very exciting. And how long? I don't know how old is NAKD. When was it launched?
It was launched in 2016, so 5 years ago.
Okay, so quite a young company.
Quite a young company, fast growing, very entrepreneurial in its operations and how we run the company. So fast decision making and yeah, a fun environment to work in, I would say.
Okay, so we're going to discuss how you move towards a more circular economy system. But then maybe, Estefania, can you quickly introduce yourself and maybe what is Place to Swap?
Yeah. Okay, this is Estefania. I am the CEO of Place to Swap. Place to Swap is a solution. If I say circular, we produce circular economy platforms for brands and retailers. So our vision is, we were born in 2016 as well, and knowing that secondhand market and circular economy would be strategic for brands and retailers, and our objective is that all fashion brands, and not only fashion brands, can address circularity thanks to our solution.
Okay, so you are proposing your solution to startups, to or to brand like NAKD, to all
not to brands like NAKD, like VP, like the Coppels, like let's say Discount. I mean, all kind of brands that want to address, or retailers that want to address circular economy.
Why did you come with this? Is it because you wanted to? Why did you come to this idea? Is it because the trend? And thank you, because you sent to me a lot of reports about resale trend and second hand. So is it because there is a real trend there and a real market to approach, or it was something deeper? What was your background to launch Place to Swap?
It was something much deeper, because I've been always concerned with brands. I've been working for first on the distribution, but then in L'Oreal, then so I've been always in contact with fashion, with cosmetics, with luxury, and long time. I mean, very long time ago, I started to think that consumption should change. That brands cannot continue to produce and sell, and then throw to the dustbin the products. So it's a long path that was building in my head, and then in 2015 I left my company to study. I was doing an MBA in digital transformation, and then I started to work for collaborative economy and on-demand economy projects. And then the idea came very naturally, and I said, this is what we have to do. I mean, the brands need to be concerned about the end of life of products, so we need to develop something that allows them to address all this part of the business, because one day they will have to transform their economic models, and it will be part of their proposition. So in 2015, I can tell you that it was not very easy when we went to the first brands to say that, and to say that, listen, your models will be transformed, and the end of life will be part of your proposition. And but 5 years later, I mean, the vision was the good one.
And so Place to Swap is in France. You address market everywhere. How it works?
For so far we are in France, but we can address all kind of markets. And in fact, we talk to clients from Spain, from UK, from other countries as well.
Okay. As regards to the market you address, Estefania, you mentioned Cdiscount and you mentioned retail. Is it a trend that concerns all retail across all matter? Doesn't matter about the product, or are there some more area where the market is bigger than other? I mean, I think for luxury, it's becoming to explode. And I was in LVMH, and we had at the time already this focus 2-3 years ago. Do you think it will expand in all kind of products, or do you think you see these trends going faster, maybe for product like Cdiscount or other or retail?
I mean, the biggest market anyway is fashion, because it's where more and more products are consumed. So naturally is the biggest market. Luxury will be a main market as well. And so far, brands were very afraid and concerned about cannibalization, image, etc. But now they start to think seriously about it. So it will be a huge market as well. And I think that sports will be sports. Children is a smaller market, but it's very important, because I mean, all the things you buy for the children, naturally they expire very, very quickly, because you have children grow up, and so you don't use things anymore. So this is a very natural market, but it's not so big. But I think if we talk about size, I think that fashion, sports, and luxury will be the main markets. Then you have also all high tech, back market.
Yes.
It's a marketplace of reconditioned products. So I mean, this is I think the main 4 categories for e-commerce, but I think that all kind of markets are concerned as well.
Maybe
Furniture.
Before going into the subject, can you explain, because you mentioned back market, the heart of their business is e-commerce, but maybe can you explain how it works, and maybe also Anna, for an established brand who wants to move forward and to go to resale?
In fact, it depends on the market. For a fashion brand, it's very easy. They just, if they work with us, they just need to create the space in the website, and then we personalize the platform. We put it on the, I mean, we plug it on the website, and the brand communicate with the consumers, and consumers can start to sell their products and to buy them. So it's not it's, you know, I mean, it's very it's easy. It's nothing very complicated, because we manage everything from the tech point of view, and from logistics in our model is it makes the logistics is taken the response timing. The consumers make the logistics, because the consumers send the products from one to another, or if the brand have point of sales, the products can also be being delivered in the point of sales.
Okay, so maybe just to understand, and for our audience, it's consumer of the brand who resells their product through the brand. It's not leftovers from the brand, or things from the old collection, or things that have been used and send it back by customers, refurbished and put online.
No, I mean, in our model is from consumer to consumer.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that later it could
evolve.
I mean, change.
Yeah.
But for so far, it's from consumer to consumer.
Anna, is it the same? So now you can speak more about the announcement of today. So thank you for being there, because there is a big announcement, and Anna is in charge. Yes. So we have the chance to have it on this panel that day. So can you speak about Naked Circle and what's the difference maybe to what just Estefania speak about?
Yes, I'm happy to, but if I just step back first a little bit, I would say that from our perspective as a brand, focusing of course on I mean, the core of our business is still the sale of new clothes and new products. And I would say that both Naked and our peers in the industry, we have like three main challenges thinking about climate to address. First is that the new products that we create to make those in more sustainable materials and with as low impact as possible on the environment throughout the entire supply chain. And for Naked, we have similar numbers as you see across the industry, where 82% of our emissions, climate emissions, come from the making of our products and the materials which they contain. So that is the big 82%.
82%. Okay.
And this is common across the industry, where research point that 80% is a normal number, around 80% from fashion brands, the climate impact. So of course, minimizing that impact from new production is vital, because we will always have an intake of new products and materials into the fashion market. Despite how much we go to circularity, there will always be an intake of new products and new materials. And then of course, we need to secure that we use, that's the most important thing that you and I can do as individuals, is to actually use the products that we have on the market, that we already have in our closets and wardrobes, as much as possible until they are worn out. And I think that's where resell and secondhand is so important. When I get tired of this shirt, that I actually sell it or donate it to someone else who can use it to prolong the life of the garment, because we see there are numbers pointing that an item, a garment in average is used only 7 times, and that's just ridiculous. 7 times. And that's ridiculous. You know, looking at the impact that garment has on climate and other environmental aspects in the supply chain and the making of that garment. So there, I think that the resale and secondhand is really important in changing that we actually use the garments that we have more, and we have to also design them, of course, so that they last as long as possible. And then in the end, when the garment is worn to pieces, you could say, that we actually have processes in place to recycle the material and be able to reuse the materials for new garments and pieces. And here research is going really quickly right now. And there are methodologies and in place to be able to do this. And there are startups and companies working to do this, but it's still an area which has a bit of a challenge to scale up. And while you also see that recycling of materials today is primarily focused on, for example, pure cotton or cellulosic materials. So the mixed compositions of materials that we see in most garments, there's still a lack of knowledge and science to actually know how to recycle that in a good way and be able to scale it up. So that's a big challenge, I would say. So that's why we are happy to launch Naked Circle at Naked, which is targeting then the actual use phase of the products, to be able to use the products as much as possible. And same thing as Estefania is talking about, it's about customers selling clothes to other customers. And we've been collecting, I said at the initial here, we spoke a bit before, we've been gathering returns from customers for a while. Normally 97% of our returns are actually put back on the shelves to be sold again. But now we've been gathering,
sorry, Anna?
97% of
Okay.
returns are being put back on the shelves again to be sold to another customer.
Okay.
Some small pieces cannot be sold again, but then they are sold on a second-hand market through business partners. And in minority, there are maybe stains, something is broken, there's a quality issue, and that we would donate to refurbishment and second-hand sales as well. And then what can actually not be recycled or reused is reused is recycled.
I have a question for you
but
from panel.
Yes.
And it's maybe for you, Anna, and it's quite a tricky question, so I hope you're ready. How are Naked encouraging consumers to be part of circular economy, because fast fashion is still about seasonal clothes and getting the latest item?
Yes.
I know that you have a big objective as regards to reducing your carbon emissions, and I think it's super impressive. You want to reduce by 50% by 2030.
Yes.
How can it be suitable with this fast fashion industry? How can it work?
Well, I think the most important thing is of course that we reduce our emissions, and with a fast-growing company like Naked, that's a huge challenge. We set a target to reduce 50% by 2030 compared to 2020 across the value chain, and that we need to work from two angles. We need to both work really focused to reduce emissions from the making of the garments, both in terms of moving towards more sustainable materials, and also working together with our supply chain partners to help them switch to, for example, renewable energy, which is a big challenge because most of the emissions are connected to intense production processes where there are fossil energy used to fuel those processes. And also in the other end, work with circular business models. And there we are launching the Naked Circle today, where we encourage our customers and want to collaborate together with our customers to enable them to sell pre-loved items and buy pre-loved items directly integrated on Naked Circle. So basically, what we're doing, if it would have been a physical store, what we're doing is that we're offering our customers to come in and put their used garment, pre-loved garment, on a hanger next to the new items.
Okay.
So that's basically what we're doing. So as a customer, when you walk into the store, which for us is then digital and online, you will be able to see if a garment is available new and also pre-loved, and then in what condition it is available pre-loved. So you can choose, and what size, of course, if you want to buy it new or at a lower price, a pre-loved version of that garment.
And is there an objective also to reduce the number of collections or not? I think it was the question maybe for Ida, who just asked it.
The number of regular collections, no, we have no plan to reduce that, but we have big plans to reduce the impact of the making of our collections.
So working more on the supplier side.
Yes, definitely.
And it's very difficult because suppliers also have got suppliers.
Yes, we are working too. Yes, and that's a really important point. So we actually have invested in a system support that will help, a platform that will help us to gain greater transparency in our supply chain, because of course, to be able to work with tier 2 and tier 3, so that's the making of the fabrics and the making of the yarns that are the most energy intense processes. We need to first know who those partners are, and those supply chain partners and businesses, to be able to have a dialogue with them and work with them to be more energy efficient and to support them to switch to renewable energy.
Okay. Thank you, Ida.
And then, of course, also as a plus on that side, be able to be transparent to customers about the journey of the making of the products.
Okay, for all products, it will be the case for all NAKD products.
We have set a target to have full supply chain transparency all the way to raw materials for 80% of our production by 2025.
Okay.
This will be a huge challenge,
Yes.
but that's something that we will aim for.
Okay, so maybe tomorrow, I don't know if we can, maybe the word and the term fast fashion will quite evolve with some brand that try to be more sustainable, even if the number of collection still exists, because you have a high demand also to change it and so on. But for the customers, they will be able to very easily, and I think it's what I understand from the thing I read about NAKD Circular, very simply, I'm connecting to my accounts and I can resell. I don't have to take photos and as like Vinted and to put the price and so on. It's all done for me.
Yes, and that's really something that we're trying to focus on, making it really easy and simple for our customers, because we think we need to remove all the obstacles from selling pre-loved items. So from the seller's perspective, you simply log into your NAKD account where you can see all the products that you bought previously, and you basically just twitch a toggle that you want to sell this product, and it's completely transparent what the seller will get in return as a reward. So you can decide, do I think it's worth it to sell this item, or do I want to sell it somewhere else, or keep it, or donate it, or what do I want to do with it? And you can twist that toggle, and then that product will come up for sale on our platform. And when there is a buyer, the seller will get informed and will have instructions on how to ship it for free to the buyer. And sometimes that is a direct shipment to the buyer, and sometimes it's through our warehouse, and that depends on the logistics setup that we have in different countries, because our logistics partners have different preconditions to be able to support different solutions in different markets and between different markets.
Ida has another question, but I think it's not yet available. How are the statistics on NAKD Circular? Are customers really buying the old clothes? I think you just launched, so it's a bit early.
Yes, we have had a soft launch throughout a few weeks in a few countries without communication. Otherwise, we're launching today, so that's really a big day for us at NAKD today. So we don't have any figures yet, but we have, as Estefania talked about in the beginning, we also, of course, see a big trend and tendency of a growing interest for selling and buying pre-loved items. And I think that's definitely with the climate situation that we all face, it's a must that we use the garments that we have in a more extensive way, and also that both NAKD and other peers in the industry transform how we actually work with fashion and gain a revenue from other types of business models which are not depending on new materials and this production process that takes 82% of our emissions. And also that our customers learn to consume fashion in another way, because this is really about a collaboration with the customers. And I think that you can vouch for that too, Estefania, that this is really about customers learning to consume fashion in another way, be it buying pre-loved, selling their clothes, renting their clothes, or how we consume fashion needs to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have Estefania, yes, come and ask another question.
Yeah, how are you tackling with the cannibalization problem, Anna? Because I think that's something scary for all brands. I see that in your main site, when you go to search products in the search menu, you cannot filter by new or secondhand or others. So if you want to buy secondhand, you need to go specifically to secondhand place. So
there will be in the top bar where you can click on pre-loved, so you get all pre-loved items. I'm not sure it's been launched yet in all markets because we're launching today as we speak, and there's a lot of things happening at noon today. So
cannibalization is not an issue for you. I mean, you are completely
well. Of course, there will be customers that choose to buy a pre-loved item instead of a new item, but that's the transition that we need to do as a company. We need to have moved towards circular business model, meaning that we need to have our customers buying the pre-loved items instead of the new items. Then of course, what we do is what I think is quite unique is that you can, as a customer, buy a pre-loved item and a new item in the same order. So that's of course something unique. Then if it's sent from the same place, if it's a pre-loved item that's shipped through our warehouse, then it could be that you get it in the same shipment. If it's a pre-loved item that's shipped directly from the seller, you will of course have 2 shipments. So that's different depending on where the pre-loved item also comes from.
And what about the economic model, the business model? Sorry, because it's very tricky. I mean, margins are much lower, and this is something that brands are very concerned about.
Yes, and this is something that we will evaluate over time, of course. I mean, we have invested more than equivalent to 1 million euro in this initiative and in this platform. And of course, we hope to see that we have a revenue and a margin in this business as well over time. But for now, initially, this is a pure investment, as a transition, for the change that we see that is needed in the industry and for us as a business.
It's very brave, because brands are not. I mean, we talk to many brands, and they are not so ready to see that as an investment in the first.
I'm lucky to be a head of sustainability in CSR at a company where we have a CEO who's really passionate about being a force for change in the fashion industry.
But as there are some studies also that shows, and Estefania, you mentioned them, the study of Accenture and the future of circular fashion, that was written in 2019, so quite like a few months ago, stating that more than 10% of clients that exchange second-hand products of a brand will buy a new one also from these brands in the 6 following months. They have it's also a way to discover, for example, me, I've never used NAKD product. It's a good way for me to discover the brand.
Yes, of course. So that's also a reason why we're not too afraid of cannibalization.
I think it can feed the business. It can also attract new clients, and maybe it's the transition for my next question, because you at NAKD, you are focused on this kind of persona, so young women from 18 to 35. How can you see those new clients coming to the market? Are they more?
Yes, but what we see in research and the service that we have done ourselves is that the customers and the target group that we have are more prone and show a greater interest in selling and buying pre-loved items than, for example, let's say the older generation that maybe even I would be part of. So that's definitely a good fit with our target audience. And now I would say it's up to proof to see if that's also not only words from our customers, but I really have strong hope and faith in our customers that they will also act in accordance with what they say is important and what they say they want, and actually use a NAKD circle to sell and buy pre-loved items.
Is there like a Vinted platform in Sweden? You mean? I mean, you know what Vinted is, I think.
Yeah. We have.
Do you have something like because Vinted, for example, in France, is really the main leader in second-hand market for, you know.
We have several platforms in Sweden that are huge in second-hand. We have 2 dominant players for all types of second-hand.
And what's the value added of your offer?
I think what we primarily is the simplicity. The customers, we have all the products on our website already. The customers, they do not have to take pictures. They do not have to do product details. We already have all the product information on compositions and so on. They need to be really think, is this something that I would buy, and look that it's not worn too much, of course. There's no stains, nothing is broken, and be honest in when they judge and what condition the item is in, of course. But the simplicity is really, as I said, removing all the obstacles for the customer to sell and buy pre-loved item. That's really what we try to address, making it as easy and smooth as possible.
The better experience at the end of the day.
Yes, the user experience, that has been a key in developing this, which we have also done together with customers when we have tested this and tried this live also with customers. We got really good response on the user friendliness of how this works.
I have a question from David.
Yeah.
I don't know who can answer, but is there any expectation that having a second-hand market and economic model will allow you to decrease the overall economic dependence on newly produced clothing? I.e., a pre-loved sales rise, will you order smaller quantities of newly produced clothing? What do you think about that? It's difficult because you just launched, so it's
yes, it's difficult because we just launched. But I would say that what you see from what I've seen in studies is that having a customer buying a pre-loved item that does not necessarily to 100% replace the purchase of a new item. So you cannot sort of offset the purchase of a second-hand item 100% with the cost of producing a new item. And I would say we will see as we go, but there's no sort of, as I said before, plan to reduce the making of new garments just because we're launching a Naked Circle. But we are focusing a lot in securing and moving towards having the new garments that we produce in. We'd say that 100% of our product should be more sustainable materials by 2025, and also to work with the business partners in our supply chain to reduce the emissions from the production processes and having more sustainable production processes. We have examples where we use fruit to dye the fabrics, for example, or clay to use to color denim.
And how will you expect, maybe if a customer is not happy with the condition of a cloth, is it you who is responsible? Is it the seller? Yes. How does it work?
We are responsible. So if a customer is not happy with the condition of the pre-loved item that they have purchased, they should contact us, and we will. So everybody's free to return 90 days.
Okay.
And then that will come to Naked, and we have a business partner which will then see if they could sell that secondhand through their channels, and if that is not possible, then it will be donated to charity.
Okay. And Estefania, is it the same with Place to Swap? If a customer is not happy, how does it work?
No, for the moment, brands that don't want to accept returns because it's a hassle. But I think that it's better. The idea in our roadmap, the idea is the same as Hannah's. That I mean, we will consider to accept the returns and to make a mechanism that these returns they can go to another ways of, I mean, other platforms that take second life products and other channels, and if they are not sold, they can go to donate as well. Yeah. But I mean, the returns, if we don't allow returns, it's a pain for the platforms to be developed. Yes. And I think that brands will need to accept returns as well. Yeah. Because otherwise the risk is even if you can connect with the seller and you can exchange information, pictures, and everything, and at the end of the day, you can always make a mistake, because if it's a garment, if it doesn't fit you, at the end of the day, what do you do with it? So I think that returns, unhappily, it's something that we will. I mean, unhappily, because returns is also a main polluting thing. I mean, the transport and all the things that. All the pollution that is generated by a return is very high, but at the end of the day, I think that it will be necessary.
Okay, I have another.
Well, actually, for the returns, for NAKD, of course, we try to minimize and reduce and remove the unnecessary returns. But looking at the big pictures, the emissions from our returns is 0.3% of our emissions over the value chain. And then compare that to 82% of the emissions from the making of a new garment throughout the value chain. I think that's quite obvious where we need to put our main focus.
That's for sure.
Because of course, unnecessary returns needs to be removed and reduced, but it's still just a fraction of the total emissions, 0.3%.
Yes, but at the same time, Hannah, in this, we said that the business model it's not so evident in the second-hand market.
Yes.
So if you get lots
from a
of
cost
returns,
perspective, yes, definitely.
It's not so easy.
Yeah. No, then it's not so easy. From a cost perspective, we definitely do not want the returns.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
In your model today, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, no, Estefania, come on.
In your model nowadays, you accept returns, whatever the reason is. I mean, if I'm not happy, I can return.
Yes, but for returns for secondhand, it's not free. For normal products, returns are free, but for secondhand, it's not free, and there's a different pricing depending on what country, and that's available in our FAQ online. The pricing for returns.
Okay.
Yes, because it's a real cost.
Yeah, that's definitely a real cost. Yeah,
it's a big pain. It's a big pain for brand, and I think for return, Estefania, maybe you need to have a brand that is big enough to endorse this pain. I'm sure NAKD, you are big enough to do it. Maybe for smaller, even for fashion and luxury brand, even for when I worked for LVMH, it was really complicated to handle all returns, especially in jewelry and in watches and for all the leather goods. It was a real pain. A question for you, Anna. Do you see any chances to change your business model to fully circular in the future? I don't know what the question is all about.
I think that depends on what time perspective you have on the future. To begin with, I think we have to move towards more circular business models. We have to have an increasing share of our business revenue from circular business model, where we're not dependent on the raw material and the production processes that we have today that account for 82% of our emissions. That's a must. How fast that transition will go, I'm not sure, but it has to go fast. But it's also a way of the entire business and industry and customer to mature. And to, as I said before, for our customers also to learn to consume fashion in another way. But also today, when you recycle fabrics today, it becomes the fibers become too short. So you actually always, when you have recycled fibers, you need to combine that with fibers from new material to be able to create a fiber which is strong enough to make a fabric out of. So we will, with the technologies that we have today for recycling and keeping the materials in the loop, the technologies we have today and know of today are always dependent on also new virgin materials to be able to make the fibers long enough, strong enough to actually make a fabric. So from that perspective, there will always be this flow and intake of new materials, and those production processes will still be there. And of course, those are also really, really important for all the people's livelihoods that depend on the work that are there throughout these processes. But we need to secure, of course, and work together in the industry, because many of these suppliers are the same between brands also. As I said before, to reduce emissions and supporting transition to renewable energy throughout the entire value chain.
Yeah, because recycling is also kind of pollution also. You need to use new materials, so it's better to re-commerce than to recycle a clothes.
Yes, yes, we need to first use the garment as long as possible until they're completely worn out, and that's where the resell, and when they're worn out, then it should be preferably recycle. But today we also know that the main parts of clothes in the world are not recycled. I've seen there are famous reports saying that, I think it's a McKinsey report originally, saying that there's 1 truckload of garments dumped every minute to landfill globally. And those are devastating numbers. 1 truckload of garment dumped every minute to landfill.
Okay.
Or textiles globally.
Yes, for the people in the audience, the textile industry is the second biggest polluter in the world. So, I mean, the question are really legitimate about that, and how brands can really move forward a more circular economy. I think it's really, you want to also to be a best practice for others. I mean, you are kind of a pioneer. Especially in this fashion industry, it just goes very fast.
But then I think what Estefania is doing with her business, I think is really, really important, because not all brands have the willingness or capacity to invest in this themselves, like we are at NAKD, and then collaborating with third parties with these type of business models is I think really, really important, because we need to collaborate more in the industry to find solutions and to try to make this transition happen.
Yes, even you mentioned return, but you can also collaborate with solution and startups that can help fitting all the fitting size and the sizing of the clothes to avoid return. You have some solution and crazy solution to help customers see if the clothes can fit. Different solution with holograms or others that can be suitable and to help avoid returns and so on. So I think the more collaboration and Place to Swap is one of them, the better it is. I have a very interesting question about advertising, and how does NAKD can plan to change its advertising strategy to encourage customers to buy more from the NAKD circle, and how will you balance new versus Preloved on your socials and influencers? It's a very good question, I think.
Yes, that's a very good question. We work a lot with influencers. We work with 6,000 influencers from 18 countries last year. So we work together with a lot of influencers. And of course, we have influencers now today and the coming weeks that will promote NAKD Circle, of course. But then that is something, the marketing for NAKD Circle is something that we will, of course, that will be a general part of our marketing communication going forward. And we've also set in our strategy going forward to have even more communication towards customers in how customers can reduce their own fashion climate footprint. And of course, it's about using the garment as long as possible, but there are also other things on how you wash the garment, of course, and how you care for the garment. Maybe, I mean, washing the garment, do you use renewable energy yourself to wash the garment? What do you mean? There are plenty of things.
Repairing the garments as well, because people don't use to. I mean, they don't. People don't know how to sew them. They don't repair the things, and that they get rid of them very easily.
Exactly, easy repairs too. So that's something that we will look into even more, where I see that we have a great opportunity to do more than we do today.
Did you choose other influencers than the one you had, or is it the same influencers? Because I mean, you choose.
I know that some are the same. I'm not sure if all of them are, or if some are new. I actually don't know. But I know that some of them are the same, especially the big influencers that we have as sort of spokespeople for sustainability.
And are you creating a new an Instagram account for Circle, or it's just the same and you integrate?
Same.
So the marketing is 100% integrated.
Yeah, there's no other Instagram channel. No, it's the same.
So that's good.
Anna, if NAKD is continuing its fast international growth, that means it was a question when we prepared this talk. You mentioned the fast growth. A question is, how will you balance this with your sustainability strategy, continuing to work closely with factories and suppliers?
Sorry, can you take that question again, please?
Yeah, if NAKD is continuing its fast international growth, how will you balance this with your sustainability strategy, continuing to work closely with factories and suppliers?
Well, it's I think if I understand your question correctly, how we will continue with the growth with the supply chain and work there. I mean, that's we had by the end of 2020 109 producing factories at NAKD, and we are working with them to and have dialogues with them, starting even more focused going forward to talk about their impact. 79, if you look at spend, 79% of our suppliers or factories are sharing their environmental data with us through the Sustainable Apparel Coalition and the HIG index. So they are sharing all the impact that they have from environmental aspects, both climate and water and chemicals and so on. So we are able to have a dialogue with them and see their progress over time, to see what action plans they have to reduce and do even better, and see how we can support them to transition to more environmentally sound production processes, and as I said, energy efficiency and renewable energy.
Yeah, and I think the sooner the better. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, you mentioning international growth. You grow very fast. As the sooner you take into account those matters, the better it is, because you will deal with your suppliers, and
I'm really excited. I spoke to some industry peers just the other day this week, and it's really exciting to see how both NAKD and the industry as a whole. I get a feeling, as you know, compared to Estefania, I'm quite new to the fashion industry and the textile industry. I'm not new to sustainability, but this industry. And it's really amazing to see how both NAKD and our industry peers are really putting in not just one extra gear right now, but I have a feeling you're putting in the second and the third gear, and pushing the gas pedal at the same time in this area. So it's really I see a big shift and a big focus for the entire industry to work more in this area. And we are also collaborating with our peers through STIKA. This is the Swedish Textile Initiative for Climate Action, where I would say most textile and fashion companies in Sweden and the Nordic region are members, where we actually work together to try to see how we can better together tackle the climate challenges for the textile and fashion industry.
So you are nowadays you are able to track 100% of the supply chain of the product, or not? Because you heard about Weibo, what happened in China with H&M and all the brands that were concerned about that problem. We had a chat the other day in Clubhouse, because we have a second, I mean, a slow room, a slow fashion room, and the problem is that lots of brands are not aware. They cannot track 100% of what is happening in their supply chain, so they finally find that they are in a big hassle because there are things wrongly done and they didn't know that.
Yes, and that's what we have invested. That's exactly why we have invested in a system called Trust Trace to gain traceability in the supply chain. And as I said before, our goal is to have 80% transparency of our production volume, 100% all the way to cotton fields by 2025. But we have actually communicated to all our suppliers. They sign our code of conduct, supplier code of conduct, where it's really clearly stated that any type of forced labor or trafficking or is something that we have a zero tolerance for, and they also signed that they will push this upwards in their respective supply chain. So we have enforced that message through to our suppliers as of last week even. Because of course it's the same challenge for us as for any other brand to know this. And that's why we invested in gaining this traceability now, because we really know that we need to know where the raw material comes from.
Because I mean, there are lots of research that's saying that modern slavery is growing and growing. So at the one hand, we are trying to gain on sustainability, on the tracking, on transparency, but on the other hand, we need margins to be the highest as possible. So where does it come from? I mean, at the end of the day,
And
yes, and the more we see people desperate for jobs and increasing amount of migrant workers throughout the world, that also increases the risks of modern slavery. I've been working a lot with human rights before, so I'm well aware of the challenges and the risks in different areas.
And do you do also some kind of internal audit for your supplier? Do you go
Yes.
on site? Ouais.
Absolutely, all our suppliers need to do a social audit and have an approved social audit, and it could be that we choose not to work with suppliers because the results are too poor, and we try to work with the suppliers with action plans to also improve.
Okay. Estefania, as regards to your client, and we didn't mention the luxury industry because it's a big market as well. Have you been approached to some luxury brands to use Place to Swap, or is it maybe a bit early for them?
We have discussed with all the big luxury houses, and
Yes.
they are all of them. I mean, 1 year ago it was even not an issue to tackle this market. Now it's a big issue. So the way that the way is not decided yet, and it will depend on the house and on the brand, because each house has different brands, and brands have not necessarily the same strategy and the same way of doing. But things are, I mean, they have very much changed, and it will happen. I mean, not in 2021, but it will happen, I think, in 2022.
Yeah, it's a trend that is coming from the US,
Yeah.
but for luxury, for a product like maybe it's Levi's who launched it with I heard about it with
and Nike and Levi's and Lululemon have launched the secondhand programs. But luxury, they have two main problems. The first is image.
Yes.
And what happens with the prices and the strategy. But I mean, the image is the first and the most important thing. And then is the authenticity of products and certification. So they are the two main the two main points to tackle. So I don't know if we have seen that there is yesterday, it was announced yesterday that the three main luxury groups have signed for a private, I mean, blockchain solution to track it, to be able to get the traceability of the product. So these are initiatives that take, you know, that may you think that they are progressing in their strategies, and it will happen. But there are things that need to be resolved before launching these kind of programs, because image and authenticity are two very, very big important things for them. If they are not I mean, if those two main points are not
tackled before,
tackled, or I mean, if it's not good checked for them, they will not go.
Okay. Yeah, brand image is the first major point, I think, for.
And around the image, there are a lot of things, you know. So
yeah.
But in fact, it's a way to, I mean, because for luxury markets, the counterfeiting is a very big problem, and I think, and they think as well, that secondhand market authentified by brands will be a tool to reduce the counterfeiting as well, you know. Because if you are able to buy secondhand luxury authentified by Louis Vuitton or by whoever, you don't need to go to buy something, because it will be, I don't know if cheaper or whatever, but you don't need to go to buy counterfeit, because you can buy secondhand in the brand, you know.
I see what you mean, and but I think it would go faster than we expect, and it's good that you're already on the market, because the first main important thing, and I think Anna will also agree with that, is that consumer is asking for that.
Yeah.
and
course.
especially young consumers. So
yeah, much more than Asian or American consumers are also very second-hand focused. But you know, from a very long time ago. But in Europe, it's coming more and more a demand.
And the US is also more mature when it comes to rental models and subscription models than we see in Europe. But that's moving in Europe as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that luxury could start from with rental models before secondhand.
Hang Louis said it was LVMH, Prada, and Cartier from Richemont who created the Aura blockchain consortium. Maybe it was what you.
Yes, this is what I was saying before. Yeah.
Okay, so you can have a look online with that. Okay, thank you very much. I think we arrive about the end of this talk. Anna, I wish you a very good day because it will be very intense. You can follow up NAKD online and about all the communication that will be around Circle, and try. Maybe you can try your product like that also. Maybe it could be a nice idea to discover the brands. I'm super excited to know more about statistics. There was a question about what would be the statistics about the sale and so on. So I hope you will communicate around that because it's key. I mean, and maybe we can have this similar kind of talk in 6 or 1 year, and you can tell us how it was not a cannibalization, but you will also attract new clients, and it's a new share of the market for you. And Estefania, thank you very much also for being here and to present us Place to Swap. So a nice way also to do e-commerce. And I hope it will go faster, but I'm sure with a lot of brands coming to this solution, because I think consumers really need it, and especially younger one. Maybe you can let your email address on the Q&A session and the chat, Estefania, Anna, so that people, if they want to chit chat with you, they can. And maybe last question for you, Anna, about Naked Circle. Is it also compatible with physical shops, multi-brand canals? What is this question?
We have pop-up stores from time to time, but obviously not now when there's a pandemic.
Oh, yes.
And the second hand is on the Preloved is through our online.
It's all online
store. Yeah.
I have just a last question for Anna, Sarah. Anna, have you make predictions have you forecast the market share of pre-owned products or not? Do you know, do you have an idea of how much will represent second-hand market for you?
No. We have predictions, of course, where we see that the second-hand market is growing a lot, and of course we hope to take a share of that market.
Yes, because there are no figures yet about not about you. I mean about the general market. We don't know how much the second-hand market represents today anywhere. We know about market progression, but no about market share.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Anna,
everyone.
very much, Estefania. Have a great day.
Thank you. Good luck, Anna.
Thank you,
Estefania. Good luck as well. Thank you.
Also, the attendees. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.